everyone, it's Carolyn, here to share more channeled information. This time it's Jennifer and myself again. We are having lots of conversation these days, and we're finding that portions of our conversation we're wanting to share with you. So hopefully you'll be able to take at least one or two things away from this, if not more, so you can have more information to help you understand your own life journey during these ascension and awakening times. So Jennifer and I have done videos before, and for those of you who have not watched them before, we come from kind of two different places of how we receive information and how we describe it, but ultimately it all weaves together. So Jennifer and I have been working together for a couple of years, and what we've realized is that we have a lot of information coming through that we really want to be able to share with a larger audience. So glad you're enjoying these conversations, and I'm just going to cover a little bit about what this one is about. But first, I want to introduce myself. I'm Carolyn. I'm a channel, I'm a distance energy healer, and I'm a spiritual awakening mentor. I offer these channels and my services to help you along your life journey forward. So check out my services, purplerainhealing.com, if you'd like to work with me. Additionally, for those of you who are new, down below in the description box, there is a link that will take you to a video on how to create flow in your body for health and wellness, because our body is the vessel we're traveling in during this journey. This will then take you to an email list where I provide a channel every week, Friday or Saturday of the week prior, for that upcoming week from the Light Keeper. So it's an encouraging channel for you during the week forward and to support you in your life journey. So join me there too. So I'm going to cover a little bit about what some of the topics are that are covered in the channeled session. We're going to have galactic conversations, big picture conversations about ascension. We're also going to hit on how we're having a convergence happening in each of us, where the aspects, missing aspects, fragments, whatnot, everything's coming back in, converging back into one, into the wholeness of who we are. Many people are feeling this and have different, I'll just say, symptoms as a result of this in their body. And you'll see where I actually make a comment about something that has happened to me recently. But again, it's the convergence of aspects of us rejoining us for our journey forward. It's kind of fascinating. We're going to talk about the Anunnaki. Yes, we are. We're going to touch on them. We're going to get into some interdimensional travel conversation. We're going to talk about time slippage. Really going to have some creation conversations, source creation conversations. And then touching on the consciousness raising event that I've been talking about. That pops in here again. So I just want you to know this should probably be going out on Thursday, either October 21st or Friday, October 22nd. Jennifer's and my conversation was recorded a week prior to that. So if something has occurred this week, it would not be reflected in what you're going to see here soon. So again, I am planning on doing the November energy update here in the next week or so, and getting that published out here before the new month. So we'll see what happens between now and then, because I keep seeing this global event occurring in the collective. Again, as we've mentioned, we don't know whether that's just energetic and we'll feel it all in each of us individually and never really kind of understand that it happened collectively, or it will also be a manifested event potentially. So anyway, needless to say, we touch a bit on that. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. So I'm just going to touch base with you at the end, and here you go.
So, but I was thinking about it, and I heard this just this morning. I was thinking about, the diminishment of our being, and how humankind has been. There's a lot of races that have come in and maybe tried to alter some good agendas, some maybe not so good for the human. And then I thought about this, that Anunnaki was created too.
Oh yeah.
And they were created from the mixture of two different particular races. I can't actually remember who they were exactly, but I'm thinking, how do they feel about being diminished? Because there was a diminishment there as well. So are they comfortable with the idea of being diminished, or are they like me, demanding to be to exist in the fullness of their full potential, of their origin?
Yeah.
And this is what I was thinking in the shower, just typical thoughts for me, right?
Yeah.
And I think that might be where the time slippage went.
I think so too. Oh yeah, because you took yourself there energetically. You know what? What you just had happen, oh, I have super chills. This is going to become more prevalent for people. And all it takes is that, and see, I've had this in the last few days, like week as well. All it takes is that thoughts are, it's back to the thoughts are things thing, but you're going to be able to travel. You're going to travel. And we're getting to that point where we're able to do that. That's what you just did. And that's going to become more prevalent. And so as we go into that space of considering, say, an ancient civilization or other star beings or whatever, we're going to be able to actually do that without intention. Like you're just going to think it and you're going to go.
Yeah. And I feel like, I told you this before, even though it feels like we've traveling, I'm starting to see it almost like through the vessel. It's almost like lines of frequency.
Yeah, okay? It is.
And we just tune to one and we feel like we go somewhere, right?
Yes.
But it's not necessarily, I think that's why it's so fast and easy, but coming back in, I guess, under veil, I don't know, it kind of just puts you back into this and you don't necessarily pull all of that forward into here.
Yeah. So the travel, to your point, that's exactly it. It's lining up to different frequencies is what I'm getting. Now, when we talk about, remember the other day we were talking about frequency, vibration, consciousness level, and then the technology with it to be able to travel, to actually physically travel to, that's different. I'm getting.
I think it's all here. I think a lot of the stuff that we've done, even with movies and, future thought, foreseeing, looking, I still think that there is a thought process that has to be there for consciousness to catch up. So although I believe there's not going to be any outside technology necessary whatsoever. In fact, I think the body will take you there. The technology is all inside of you now, ready to go.
Right.
And the technology will take you there. And even the vessel that you will, if you need one, utilize when you're in different frequencies is also part of our vessel as well. So I don't think there'll be a lot of exterior stuff going on. It will all be inside and it's already in our technology. It's just coming online with the remembrance of how to use it.
Yes. So it feels, and maybe we can unpack this, it's kind of interesting. So there's that component of it, the internal piece traveling through, you have everything here you travel through within your own vessel, right? In your own consciousness. But where does the physical spaceship, kind of ET thing coming physical form as they do to Earth, where does that link in? Do you know what I'm saying? Because what I was saying the other day too, is there's this technology here that does allow for that kind of travel, but then there's this component that we're talking about in our own vessel and in our own consciousness as that raises.
Yes. And it's funny because they've kind of joked with me before about the whole spaceship phenomenon and how, some people have this experience where it comes to them here and their human gets to see it. Right. And they say, we only do that because you want to see it. That's not necessary. You can move in an instant. So I think when I'm seeing it, it's almost like I'm choosing a channel and my creator being my energy is projecting through that frequency. And I'm like having the experience through the projection where I also there's matter as well. There's a body, you yourself are the consciousness that runs that very spaceship that comes to get you. That's like, you could be considered an aspect of you, the ship.
You know what they're saying? Yeah, totally. So as you're talking, what they're showing me is the side over here we talked about with our individual consciousness being able to go there as well. But then there's this whole spaceship technology thing where we're also going places too, right? Like to Mars and all that. So they're giving this visual of, well, you both can go to the same place ultimately. However, you're going to get there faster this way when you're at that level, and you're going to be going to the others. Oh, so what took you so long?
Yeah, I've been here for about 2 months waiting for you to arrive.
Yes, because so you show up there through your consciousness and you're traveling, correct? And let's just say there's the more 3D approach to that shows up. What they're showing to me, and I don't know why they're bringing this up, but it's almost as though the two would meet, but you would look different to them
Yes.
Being the
Yes.
human, if the human does that the human body
Yes.
shows up on Nibiru through some technology device,
Right.
like a spaceship, you're going to show up there, but you're going to look different. You're going to turn into that. It's almost going to look like I feel like a light body. Can you, do you get anything?
Well, that's what they indicated when we were talking about this before, and they came through channel with you and me, that when I was having this very conversation that I had several months ago with I said, they showed us how they saw me, and it was a light body.
Yeah.
Right. So as I was talking to him, saying, I'm talking to you from my consciousness on Gaia. He didn't know what Gaia was. We were there before Gaia had been created, apparently, in a different space time. So anyway, he saw me as a light body, and he showed me him as this very tall bird-like, mahogany skinned, winged, giant, tall being. Right. I don't know if you remember all of this, but
Yeah, I do.
So I think that just like when I'm here in my body, I'm multi-located into all of these things. And there is different levels of consciousness through some of these reality systems. So, but I don't think that like when I'm here and focused into this body that my ship disappears. I think the matter that my consciousness creates for myself remains everywhere.
Yes.
My consciousness can maybe focus in more directly into some things, or once I start to bring in and allow the integration of my multidimensional being within this reality as well, I will start to have that multidimensional experience of already being multi-located.
Yes.
It's almost like an omnipresence where you can go anywhere you want.
So they're talking now about that is how you will travel the multiverses in human form. That ties to that whole idea of what we talked about last time of the rising of the consciousness, being able to turn into what you just said, and being able to then, they just said, travel through and to at will and on command, just like you did in the shower and didn't even realize.
And I think we do it all the time. It's just like they're saying you'll be able to. Well, I'm doing it already. I just don't. Yes. My human is not. When I get, like when I focus back in, I realize something happened, and a portion of me that is focused into my body had that because I had the effect of it right in this vessel. But I don't bring back everything that just happened, right? And it doesn't like sink into my right. It sometimes reverberates over a couple of days. Like I'll start to get impressions and things like what happened will start to soak in almost, and it'll start to come up slow enough for my mind to be able to grasp it. So it's not that I can't access it, but it doesn't come in like at the speed of light, like whatever just happened.
But and this is so interesting. They're saying it will, because what they just said is you are basically going to be your own spaceship, but you're also going to have conscious awareness of what occurred. So that's going to grow. Okay. They just said you'll be able to tell the story. Wow. Like, and when I say you're a good example, but that's us. I mean,
yes,
all of us as we continue to raise. So they're very much talking about we are our own spaceship. They just said traveling through space and time. That they're talking about this is basically the goal. Well, and that ties to what we said of being able to remember. I used to use this figure 8 idea of coming in and out dimensionally, and we are able to move through, which is also part of how what they're showing me, and we've talked about this, how some of the beings that show up can just materialize, but then not. It's all dimensional travel. It's all frequency. They just shift their frequency. Okay. We're going to be able to do that, is what they're saying. This is all part of this ascension process.
Yes. So there's something you said triggered. So I was sitting here getting ready, and I thought, okay, something weird just happened. And I just got a few flashes of a couple of impressions. And one of them was something you just said, that we were discussing or kind of thinking like how I can do this, and how I'm like, whoa, okay, I know there's something happening. It's not necessarily like I'm freaking out. It's almost like I'm used to it. These things happening now doesn't bother me or put me into fear. And so we were talking about how I was thinking about like how I designed myself for this incarnation. And I thought about like something about how others will be able to, could others handle this? Could others handle this? Could we move quickly enough to make this experience available in this lifetime for everybody, right? Is this possible for the consciousness? And I heard somebody say, it's possible through you. And I thought, okay, so maybe that's some of the time when we're talking about how things happen through me as maybe like the first one, or the stability or the strength, like the indestructibility of how I designed my is for this very reason. So it can happen.
Yes.
Without too much fragility or, of the group of all of us, that kind of thing.
Yep. So what they're showing me is there are some out there, we know you are included in that. There are not many, but anyway, they're showing they're trying to back up what you're saying. They're showing a metaphor of, when the sound barrier is broken. Okay, they're showing a jet, like when a jet goes, it goes up, or not even a jet, maybe, I don't know, spaceship, whatever. Anyway, breaks the barrier. They're showing that breaks. And then what happens is this is opening, they just said gateway, opens up a gateway for the more, they just said smoother alignment for others to come along. Now they're showing like a wake on a they're showing a duck. You know how ducks, it's kind of cool when you watch a duck or a goose, the first one that goes, they just leave this kind of wake and everybody kind of comes along. They're showing that. Yeah. And geese, they're showing geese. That whole idea of, there are some that will, they just said like a V formation too. They're talking about how, it's there's something about that, because we're all one. So ultimately there's something about that initial wave. Something has to start it, right? Something. Yeah. So we just think of us as a collective. The whole thing's not going at once, right? It's
right. I think that it has to be like a stair stepping. I think like I've said this before, we have to walk out in a way that I'm thinking, okay, I'm always like that. Well, let's not limit ourselves too much. Let's allow ourselves to open. And the more our consciousness is freed to expand unlimitedly by itself, right? That there's no pressure being put in the opposite, and let it kind of just, all of this stuff will become less traumatizing, because the consciousness will be left alone to kind of just expand on its own a little bit, right?
Yes.
Not like pressurized out where people will freak out, but if just not having that backward pressure of trying to lower it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just removing that direction alone will allow it to just naturally expand itself, right?
Because they're talking about expansion of consciousness. This is, I think we can know this, but this is all key to the things we're talking about, that continued expansion of being able to, and we're traveling through our own vessel. This is so fascinating.
Yeah, it's really kind of interesting. But I don't know exactly what I was doing there. But I did have this, I sometimes go to this wild hair, like, they were diminished too. Are they even aware of that? Because I read this about it, how they, and I don't know, how much of it is completely accurate, but about how they were created as well. And at the time I was having that conversation, I think I told you this, they weren't aware that there was anyone who created them. They thought that they were
You're talking Anunnaki, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know if they're aware of their lineage. I don't know if they're aware of the two groups that came together to produce the race of Anunnaki.
Okay, I just heard something. I've channeled them before, but they just said, I believe it is them. Well, and I have a connection to them too. So that's sometimes they pop in. They haven't for a while, but I am hearing they are starting to understand from where they come from. They're talking about the unraveling of that. Oh, and they just said the acceptance of who they are. They're actually, this is what I always get with them. Like they're showing I don't know if we want to go here, but they're showing a very light, bright, beautiful, light, white side. And they show this other dark, but it's a beautiful dark. It's a black, gray, blue. And it's like, well, aren't we all maybe, but I don't know what that's, they're indicating that they are realizing they're learning to integrate even more of the both to come into the one. I don't know what that means, but that's
well, I think that plays out in so many different things. And a lot of times I notice it mostly that there's always a set of brothers that the one brother, they're always fighting. There's always two brothers that are at odds no matter where you go. Cain and Abel, Inky and Lil. Oh God, who are the other ones?
You're right.
Set and Osiris. There's always these two brothers, right? Always butting heads. And they're usually fighting over something to do with the father's approval in most times, but it's wanting to go separately. And I think that's a lot of the design behind the groups that decide to either decided to, or maybe in some cases, I don't think it was voluntary on both sides, where they came together and they created a species, and to see if if they could within themselves resolve this black and white wolf kind of thing going on.
That's what I'm saying.
If they could do it within them, then these groups could get along, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe that all of these groups are aware that's how they were created, or that they even know that these two like mom dad groups that came together to create them. Sometimes they're not even aware that they exist.
So what I'm hearing is some are going through the process we're going through now. Now, what they're saying is a portion of the process of the understanding of who they are, and from whence they came, not this ascension body thing, not that. The part of
right.
Like there's this is interesting. As we are becoming more aware of who we are and where we have come from, it all reverberates out. Oh, I have so many chills, out into the multiverses of other beings looking and going, oh. And
it's almost like
I have so many chills right now. Yeah, going, oh, wait a minute. Oh, and having to be more reflective on their journey and understanding who they are, that there's some kind of, they're showing like, you know how like it's like a reverberation out into, and they're saying alertedness behind they talk funny, from whence they came and their origins as well, like very much going, wait a minute, we need to revisit some of this.
Let me tell you, Source is brilliant. And some of the stuff that I watch, I'm like, this is like the most unbelievably complex but brilliant form of freaking psychology I have ever seen, because it is akin to us watching a show, for instance, and having some remembrance of, oh my God, that's me. Right. And I feel like some of the galactic races and some of that are watching this, like it's this little thing, they're watching it with no idea that it's Source telling its story over and over and over again. So the ones observing, it'll click, right? For them, they'll remember. So it's not just us trying to remember. No. I think it's everyone.
Well, and what we have a tendency as humans to do, those of us who know and understand that there are other beings out there, we assume that they're all knowing and everything's perfect and they know what they're doing, and they have, they're still learning too. They're still learning. It's just different, like we talked, different frequencies, vibrations, but they have their own thing. And so remember how last time in our video, we were talking about they're all watching us, learning from us?
Yes. This is part of it. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And you know what they're saying too is, oh, wow, I just had a huge, deep, energetic breath. As we think about them learning from us and becoming more aware and more conscious of their own journey, what that does is that expands out all of creation throughout all the multiverses. It's expansive in total. And so this expansiveness then is allowing for what they're saying, more creation down the road of a higher level of awareness and consciousness and learnedness and collective consciousness.
a cohesion, I think, too, like collective understanding the relationship in a way that makes it's hard. I'm trying to verbalize this concept that's come to me about. You said something to me one time about, we were talking about, to have two different beings having the same opportunity, given the same power, for instance. And it wasn't that they necessarily deserved it or earned it or anything. It was being given to see what they would do with it. And that was the kind of the point, right? It's not what you have, it's what you do with it, kind of thing. So I remember on those, in that stream of consciousness, I had a remembrance of being a child, a human child in the Egyptian era, kind of where we were on Earth. Somehow I'd fallen into a cave or been pushed into a cave. And my fear response was almost a beacon to the arrival of the so-called gods, okay, that collective. And upon my rescue from this cave, Goddess took me in as her own child, didn't return me to my family. So I was lived in and they filled in the details for me. They were telling me the story about, you lived with us, you went through all this, and it was like you were the apple of her eye. You were the
I remember that.
Okay. And you had this beautiful golden heart. And okay, well, in this process of remembering this, I started remembering both of them. And I thought, who am I remember? I remembered being the child, but I also remembered being Goddess. So I'm getting both views, right? And I thought, okay, this is what's happening here. I think what we're doing for our own, that's what I'm saying, Source is brilliant, okay? The stuff we're doing, it's almost like you're given the preciousness of yourself as somebody who's vulnerable in your own life to see what you'll do, to see how you will care for yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So in that situation, I kind of started picking up on this pattern that I noticed about how it's almost like the true value of who you are is being handed to you in something that seems much more vulnerable than you, or seems lower, or whatever, like what a human would be to a god, for instance, or what they would perceive it would be. And she wasn't aware of that. Goddess wasn't aware of it. And the girl wasn't aware of it. But as I'm viewing it, I'm feeling both sides. And then I became aware I was both. I was both in that situation.
Okay.
I was interacting with myself.
Let me add to this, because as you're talking, I'm getting a visual and I'm getting some understanding that, and this is hard to describe, that it's about the oneness of who we are, but that ultimately, is what you just had happen in that kind of microcosm of the two, ultimately will be the all. Like, in other words, I'm just going to throw this out. We'll be able to have the conscious awareness, almost as though, like you just said, you're going to be able to remember it and know it as though you are that person. So let's just use an extreme example of us sitting here as our own individual being. We will be able to have the awareness of what it's like to be, I don't know, let's just say in a famine zone and living in famine and in poverty, or in a war zone. So here's the thing. So we'll be able to have that remembrance or awareness, because ultimately we've probably either lived that life, or we will be able to have that awareness because we're going to become so connected collectively into the experience that other individual is having. Because remember, we're not separate. So when we start having the collective awareness of all that's happening to all the individuals, that's when, I have chills. That's when we will start shifting and changing how we actually behave and act. And because, okay, if you take a more extreme example, someone who's dropping bombs, I don't know, on a village, I don't know, use that as an example. there can't be that anymore because
there's no awareness. They have no connection. They feel no connection to the group that they're doing this to the other life, the other
yes.
sentient life. They have no clue.
Now it's wide open. They can't avoid that, is my point. It's as though they will be doing it to themselves.
Yes. And they had been doing it to themselves the whole time, but they were unaware. So now the awareness that is occurring is that's where a lot of people are kind of getting feelings, impressions, their transformations. They maybe not necessarily can explain articulately like that, but I believe that's where it's coming from. It's like the separations are being pulled away and they're starting to like feel, oh my God, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And whether they realize that, how it's coming in, it's still coming in. So when you start to feel like there is one, and we are so one. I mean, in such a profound way, we are one.
And they're talking about it's about conscious connection and being able to like see, feel, know the experience that is about to happen to that person because of the thing you're going to do. You're doing it to yourself when you do it to your neighbor, is in essence.
Yes.
And we may intellectually understand that now, right? But we aren't experiencing it in the feeling component of that, the internal awareness of it. And now, as we move forward in this, that's what I'm getting is going to also change and be different, which will change our actions and our behavior to a higher plane of existence, is what they just said.
Awesome. You know what you just said is so cool because, okay, so what you just described is, what's going to happen because of what you're just about to do. So it's almost like a foreseeing. You're being given the opportunity to foresee what you have a chance or going to do and how it will affect them. And it's almost giving you a backup choice point, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you're being shown how it's going to. Now, this is so amazing because I just realized this is going on. And some of the stuff that happens, very, very personal stuff that's happened to me. But I believe, again, like I said, there's opportunities sometimes that are given. And unless the person is tuned in, and how they take this foreseeing, because I've had a couple of instances where the other person or even myself was given the opportunity to foresee, and they misinterpreted it as that being doing it to them, and what they were actually seeing as a reflection of themselves. If they take these next few steps that they're about to do, this is the result. And instead of realizing that's what they were seeing, they thought, oh my God, that's who they are, right? And they went forward with it and even did some things that were even more atrocious than, the original. So they missed the point completely. And I feel like that's happening more and more and more. And they said there is anomalies and strange occurrences in cause and effect. And it is for this very purpose, to try to give some beings an opportunity to foresee this is going to be the result of what you're about to do. So it's almost like giving them every chance, very patient kind of, I'm going to show you what you're doing and what's going to happen, right?
And it's very connected to what we just talked about. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's, and I think it's happening. That's why things are, the cause and effect are happening reverse, right?
Yes.
So it kind of throws us off, but if you're somewhat savvy and a little bit more tuned into yourself, you might pick up that felt off, and that I don't like what happened there. I don't like what I saw there. And then it almost lets you almost a little bit of a rewind, like, it's, kind of like Groundhog Day, right? You get to do it, it's going to go down, so you change, but it's going to happen. But
so I'm getting something in addition to, as you're talking, and I want to throw this out to you. again, it's aligned with all of what we're talking about, but they're giving me a sense of, as we have the thought of doing the thing, you know how when we have interactions with others, and you can take this to the extreme if you want to really prove this out, but or to understand this, not prove it out, but understand it. As we have the thought of doing the thing, you will also instantaneously have the feeling of what it's like to be the recipient of that thought that then turns into action. So that it's almost like it will instantaneously happen, and then you will have the opportunity to choose the alternative because you already feel what that action has wrought upon the other person. I don't know, that just showed up. So
yeah.
What?
Yeah, there's some,
Let's unpack.
it's interesting because I've experienced it in such a reflective, twisted, inverted version of what you just said, because,
Yes,
but yes, I'm seeing it happen. Like, but in this case, it was, I felt like I was the one being misunderstood because I was acting as a mirror.
right.
Somebody was seeing themselves when they were looking at me and didn't like what they were seeing and attributed that to me, right?
Right.
And then took further action that was, not awesome. So completely, but I kind of saw that from many angles too, but I've noticed this happening in small ways all over the place. And I hear other people now talking about these little glitches where it's almost like cause and effect happen in reverse. But that's an opportunity to foresee. A lot of people are reporting maybe more deja vu. That's kind of that skipping ahead and then coming back and doing it again. Same kind of a flip. This is what's going to happen. You really want to do that, So it's really interesting. Some of these glitches, I think, are not just glitches. They are being done kind of as give you a chance to kind of think this through for a second before you do it, right?
Yeah. So remember what we talked about last time?
Okay.
The word convergence, that just showed up again. Convergence.
Yeah, it's awesome, huh? So convergence is I think did I tell you this, the convergence, since we spoke about it last time? I thought it might be universes, energy systems. And then I also got that I knew there were other versions of Earth that are being called different things. And I got this Terra Nova Gaia. They were calling it as one, where before I've heard Nova and I've heard Terra and I've heard Gaia, but they're usually referring to them in separation. And then recently I've been hearing them use it as a string of, for one particular joined, united system, Terra Nova Gaia. And so I thought, well, there's another three together, as maybe a representation of something larger. But I thought this is interesting because I'm seeing convergence in three really big chunks coming in together. And they have like the center, they're already overlapping in the center, but there's huge pieces that are still trying to come in for the full integration.
Right. And you're talking the full integration in, yeah.
Whenever we talk about convergence, that's the visuals I'm getting. So I'm not, I'm not articulate. Because I don't really know. That's just the visual.
Because I'm not getting anything more either.
And then I get like three, I was thinking maybe the different universes, the different frequencies of universes that we have.
Right.
There's
yeah, I don't know either. That's funny because we're both not getting because I think it's so complex to try to explain it that it's not worth trying to explain. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But I have noticed some small details where I'm seeing threes coming together, threes, and that Terra Nova Gaia, three coming together. I thought, oh, there's another three for you right there. So yeah, I'm not really sure how that plays in, but that's what I've been noticing, the convergence of some of these larger energies, the up leveling, the broadening of our abilities, of our consciousness, of our original state of our creation before it was limited in any way.
Right. It's really interesting that you brought up the experience that you had that we were talking about in the beginning of the video with respect to the shower incident in Nibiru. How do you say it? Nibiru?
Nibiru is how I say it.
Nibiru. Gosh, I cannot say it. Anyway, I have had like I said, in the last week, some more minor experiences similar to yours. So it's interesting. We're talking about this and we've had some of the same experiences. And yet mine I'm having some very different experiences from what I've had previously, particularly like in a meditation last night. And so, yeah, it's something feels like it's very much, oh, they just said imminent. Expansion is imminent. They just said, well, I think it's already happening. I mean, we're expanding every day, but there feels to be some significant things occurring now, like major shifts and changes happening in our conscious awareness per some of the examples that we've got here. I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to mention that because we're having similar experiences. Yours are a little more extreme, it feels like, but which is cool.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I think they all play, kind of play back in. And I can find a connection in my human life to most of these, but some of the other ones are so dramatic, or they're outside of the norm, that I tend to focus on those a little bit more. But I usually can find a connection within my human life to most of this stuff too, which is amazing.
they just said to me, expansion is, there's going to be an uptick in expansion. They keep talking about the word expansion. Now we know this is part of the journey, that something's happening, coming up and going to happen, that's going to create a greater expansion of, they just said, of human consciousness. I don't know where this is taking us, but it feels like, how we think we're trudging along and it's just kind of like, oh, this is a slow process. But then at the same time, there's a lot of stuff changing and shifting, but we don't really see it out there in the collective. This kind of goes to my videos, some of the energy updates I'm doing, but they just brought that in just now.
Yeah.
Expansion of unity consciousness, expansion of consciousness.
I think it's they sometimes use the word compression breakthrough or something like that. And I do feel like it's almost like we're just getting the bubble to burst. Like I think you used this term before, the bubble to burst, or we're pushing on the outside layer that's holding some stuff so we can be. And I keep going back to some of the stuff that I said. They keep showing it to me again, like reiterating, yes, about when you feel pushed down on or anything, instead of being going in protection, expand yourself. So it's almost like this, where is protection really located? True protection, true empowerment, true, it isn't in, even though I do this sometimes, so I'm not judging anybody, it isn't necessarily in shielding, clearing, right. Although I do this for my body when I'm uncomfortable because I need to, but it really is in the, like for instance, I walked in the house today and I thought, I haven't done one of those smudging, putting a pillow or putting a orb around my home. I haven't done that in months, almost probably over a year. I thought, I thought, you know what, maybe we won't do that. Maybe what we'll do is we will say, my home is the frequency and energy of omnipresence. And if whoever is willing to face their origin is welcome.
Oh, I like that. That's great. Yes.
Okay. And so I'm not limiting myself at all, right? But it does give you that level of, that's true protection, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love the wording behind that. And I think that'll be useful for people too. So they said to me as we were talking about this expansion that popped in, they're talking next level is what, oh God, I have so many chills. They just said next level.
Yeah. Let's do it. I keep saying, pull the trigger on that one, right? Let's do that. I think that we're right there. I always say we're on the precipice, and I feel like we're on the precipice. We're on the precipice. Yes, I know we're at, like, it's almost like we need to, okay, let's do it,
Yeah. And I think the next level, it feels like, because this ties directly to the experience that you just had, is the next level is, again, it's in the individual first. Okay. All this next stuff happens in the individual first. And then it as we remember the linking arms. I talked about peptides, the linking of arms, and then there's that energetically that's happening across all of humankind as we next level and we start having these kinds of experiences and start creating out of those. There's something that is going to, this feels like that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take us this direction into the video, but they're talking about an event that is a cosmic energetic potential event that will happen. Either we'll see it or know it in the skies, literally, or in the collective, or we will have it happen energetically in the next few weeks. So
Awesome.
I have chills. So again, they're just validating some of this, but it feels like an expansion within each of us that's starting to happen, that each of us will be able to identify in one way or another. Now, that doesn't mean, we're all at kind of different stages of things. Sure. Of this process, I should say, but how that unravels in every individual, I don't know, but they have brought that back in this conversation.
Awesome.
Tied to what you just talked about.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I want to tell you something.
Sure.
You're talking about your experience that you just had.
Yes.
Oh my God, yesterday. I am just walking around the house doing things, and I have been having some really good meditations because I've gone back to my frequency and Hertz meditations, but I'm still not back to my regular meditation. But anyway, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but as I'm walking through the house, I felt my arm tingling. However, I thought it was, how do I want to explain this? It was like I had a third arm. It was like in the middle of me. And I just remember thinking, oh, that's my left arm tingling. But it wasn't my left arm tingling. It was an arm I didn't have that was here in the middle and more to my right. It was like I had another arm. I know, it's like disembodied kind of thing. I've had this happen once before, but it was very prevalent and lasted for quite some time. And it's literally like, why is my arm falling asleep? But it was coming out of the middle of me. It wasn't the left arm. Huh?
It was coming out of like the middle of your chest.
Kind of coming just like I had another appendage or like I had slipped out of my body, even though I didn't feel that way. And like my arm had shifted, but the tingling was like, almost like it wasn't fully like it felt like it went to sleep, but it was my arm was in a different place. It wasn't the arm that I thought.
Did you feel like it was another you, another version of you that had, how they said earlier in this conversation that comings and goings and you're running into yourself? Do you feel like some of your aspects are maybe utilizing this thinning of the veil to start to interplay and experience others' environments more, and that's why we're starting to feel some of these?
Okay,
there's more than one of me here, right? It doesn't feel like a stranger, but it feels like more than one of me is here.
Yes, because remember, okay, so I didn't even think about this. This ties to that last conversation we had about convergence. Remember I said like our past lives are coming in? Like for me, a lot of my work this year just showing up, it's all past life oriented. And it's like they're all coming together to converge into me to become the one, do the clearing, do the work, keep certain things, blah, blah, blah. So that I have chills. I have a lot of chills on what we just said there. Okay. So that's got to be part of this whole thing we're talking about.
Yeah. Because when you were talking, sometimes when I'm doing stuff for other people, I have, if I just like energetically want to look at their body, I get a screen will show up almost to my right or left. Yeah. And I'll start to see. So I just did that a little bit for you. And I saw another you kind of like feeling her way down a dark hallway and using her arm and like feeling into something. Okay. So, and then she felt through and her arm came through your body. She was feeling this experience. Like she wasn't sure this is like, I don't know how she's there and she's kind of feeling her way around. What is this? Oh my goodness. What is this? I'm feeling, where am I? And that was the arm coming out of your chest. She was feeling her way.
Okay. Is it, I got the word reintegrating. Was it a part of me coming back into me? Finding me?
It was you. Yeah, it was you. It was you doing this inside of you.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
Oh, no, it's crazy, but I see this very clearly. And there's tubes, like they were talking about wormholes earlier, about me traveling through worm. These things, there are tubes that are coming into, and it's like, you know how I told you before, everything is not so crystal clear to me that a lot of this I've had to feel my way through it. And it's forced me to express or to hone in on some of these other senses, some of which I don't even know if there's a name for them. They're different things. I don't even know how to describe them. But because I've had to feel my way through, I think that's happening across the board with many of our aspects too. So this is what I'm seeing when you said that. There's like all of these tubes or wormholes kind of leading to you, the one, and they're feeling their way in. But they're all you. There's no like other anything. They're all you.
They just said reclaiming, and so we're all going through this. That's a representation of what's going to happen or happening to everyone.
Okay.
Aspects.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, this is so cool. Oh,
and they're coming from everywhere. It looks like they're coming from everywhere, from all over the place, right? Energetically, I'm not sure how they're finding, although I guess we're always connected. But it might be some of that magnetism we were talking about too, that's pulling them towards. And some of them don't even really know why they're going. I think the way that it looks, there's so many, and some are going, they know what they're doing. Some are going because they feel like they need to, but they're not really sure why.
They just gave me the word. They're all kind of coming back. They just gave me the word that you had said earlier. As you're talking, you're saying omnipresence.
Okay.
All right, there you go. I hope you've enjoyed that today. I thank you so much for joining me, and I always enjoy your comments. I try to get back with everyone. So in finishing up today, I want to remind you of purplerainhealing.com, where you can get your own channeled messages with me, whether you talk to me on the phone for an hour, and we get lots of downloads and information for you to move forward in understanding your current life journey, but also past and future. Additionally, all of my services include channeled information. It's just really the format you want them in. I also provide channeled documents for you if you would prefer to sit and read the information. And then I have spiritual awakening mentoring, which is so popular these days, helping you forward in your own individual awakening journey, where I channel information from your angels, your guides, and your higher self. I bring that through in conversational format. Super robust. We have a lot of fun together, and we work regularly as much as you want to. So check out my services, purplerainhealing.com. I would love to work with you. Again, I've worked with so many of you, and we've really gotten to know each other. It's just really been an enjoyable time, and I hope to get to know more of you. Again, thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I will see you in the next one.